All right, we're on air. It is the 18th of August. Happy end of summer, everybody. Hope you're enjoying beautiful weather, at least here in the Northern Hemisphere. Let's see. Today we're going to go through outstanding tasks for Backdrop. Starting with general announcements, Calabox Beta is out. If you want to try a new local development environment, Calabox has built-in Backdrop support, which is great. If you'd like to make a donation to Backdrop CMS, you can do that on our contribute page on our website. We send out thank you t-shirts and hoodies for various denominations. And if you are a member of the Backdrop Contrib group, we have a free PHP Storm license key for you, so send an email to info@backdropcms if you would like one of those. I have no updates this week. Do any other PMC members have important things to say? Nope. Business as usual. Okay. Infrastructure tasks. Let's kick it over to Nate to talk about infrastructure. Oh, your mic isn't working. All right. Are there any updates on the project packager? I noticed it was working this last week, so that was awesome. I was able to make a release and it packaged correctly. Okay, I guess there's nobody has anything to say about that. Okay. What about testing infrastructure? It looks like we're currently evaluating style CI for JavaScript-based testing. Nobody knows anything about that either. Style CI is not good. Okay. No more style CI. Righty then. What about automatic updates? Does anyone know how we're doing on that one? I think that's just kind of like a long-term, like we would like to do this thing in Backdrop 2.x, but because we're a long way from 2.x, we're not working really hard on figuring out how. I would love to see at least patch fixes happen automatically to people. But yeah, anyone has any ideas about brainstorming? The meta issue there is number 2024 in the issue queue. All right. Anything else for infrastructure? Not yet. Okay. I'll just move on then to backdropcms.org, the website, since that update comes from me. My microphone is working just fine. We've got a couple of issues that are totally waiting on me. I apologize to everybody for that. Today is my day to work on backdropcms.org, so I'm going to get the single sign-on with GitHub going on our like a beta site or an API site or something. That's working. We also have designs and a content type for doing a showcase on backdropcms.org. I would love to get that up before Bad Camp, which is a couple months away. I think that's totally realistic. If anyone wants to jump in and help implementing that, we need a layout built for those. It's got to be kind of fancy because it's got to determine how many images of which sizes people have uploaded and then kind of build a layout around that. So it's going to be dynamic and probably tricksy. And then we also need the theme styles applied as well. So we have a file for that. I think it's I don't know. I don't remember what format it's in, but it's in our Dropbox if anyone's interested in looking at that. And then we need a view built for that as well that will show all of the sites that have been submitted into our showcase. Other things we're working on, the support section, I was just looking at this morning. It looks fantastic. We've got a whole bunch of new documentation pages that were created and added to our book. Right now, the book structure we're using on backdropcms.org is for the left-hand navigation in the handbook. But the user guide is large and extensive, and I think maybe shouldn't go into the handbook. It should be a separate thing. So we need to figure out how to organize navigation around that to make it make sense. So if anyone wants to do a review of the documentation pages, we could always use another read over there, make sure there's not any typos and that everything is consistent. But I would also love help figuring out like information architecture, like how are we going to get people from the handbook we have now to documentation section? Are we just going to put it like one level deeper, or should it be a completely separate thing? So if anyone has any ideas on how to do that in a way that will make sense to our users, I am open to feedback. I would love to get that up soon. So if we want to try something and see if it works and change it later, I'm totally fine with that too. But yeah, that's looking really good. Other thing we're going to work on in the support section is forums. I've got a test site running with the forum module. I want to play with it a little more before I commit to putting it on backdropcms.org. I think we might be missing a couple of features. I know there's a bunch of work going on in the forum module project on Backdrop, so I'll comment over there and see how close we're getting. But that looks super exciting to get that going too. And that's also something that if we can get kind of a minimum viable commenting location up, we might be able to get actual feedback from our actual users about what they actually want, which might be better than us trying to guess what it is that we think they want. Although we have a pretty good idea based on a lot of your own forums anyway, but still, could be fun. All right, so those are the new things that we're currently working on that need updates. We're trying to make usage statistics visible, and I know Jeff, you did a whole bunch of work on getting download counts pulling in from GitHub, which is fantastic. I would love to get download counts in current usage appearing on project pages today. That's my goal after this meeting, is to get those up. So that should be coming soon. Find modules, themes, and layouts. Again, the issue there is 95. There was some about things that were missing, and Jeff has gotten a lot of that stuff sorted out for us too. So I'll take a look at that and see how much improvement we can get to our modules, themes, and layouts pages. Event listing, I think, is pretty good. We've got a bunch of upcoming events listed. I would love to see some things like exposed filters that let you search by location. We've got an address field on there, and it's got country and state and all of that stuff, and letting people kind of drill into where they are, I think, would be fantastic. So we can get, if anyone has any time to fiddle with views, that might be a nice, easy, low-hanging fruit task to do. Same is true on service provider listings. All of those have addresses as well, and letting people search those by address would also be good. Same thing there, converting or updating views. Not a terribly daunting task, but it'll be good. And then we have our current homepage, a bullet list of like hard-coded items. We've been converting these selling points of Backdrop into nodes so that they could have a longer description and perhaps a screenshot or a video. I don't know, Gregory, if you've had any time to work on those or not. Again, it's not urgent. The page is fine the way it is now. It would be better if we had more information, but we can add to that over time.
Yeah, I'm going to have more availability since today. I got my brother back, so he's off for his holiday. I'll get to work on a lot of things that are on my plate. I know we need screenshots for the documentation, and then there's that thing as well, the features to nodes. So I'll be more available. Well, we need to catch up a lot of things, but we'll start a bit better now.
Okay.
And I should probably, by the way, just get the chance to mention that Evangelos, which has joined Vangelis, he's the guy who's responsible for the Greek distribution of WordPress, the Greek community. So just thought that you should know, guys.
Okay. Hello and welcome.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining. All right. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's all I have for backdropcms.org. There's obviously a bunch of other stuff we could be doing at any time. If anyone has any recommendations of things we should do, you can add it into the issue queue. We have our own issue queue there. If anyone has finds any bugs or anything like that, feel free to post those there too. I'll go through that queue and make sure that hopefully everyone's getting what they need.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes.
Hey, yay, that's excellent. Okay, man. Something about Hangouts. Okay, I want to go back and say a couple of items that we missed. The project packager, it's been fixed for a while now, but we still want to add some more features. Basically, the MD5 checksum thing is the security bonus, basically, that we could confirm that when downloading a package that it wasn't replaced with other software that wasn't the same as the one that you thought you were downloading, basically. That's an idea that would be great. The testing infrastructure, Style CI, I actually did do an evaluation, but I didn't bother opening an issue because it was so clearly not going to work. It doesn't support 2-space indentation, which is, of course, our entire code base. It only supports 4-space indentation or tabs. And so it's like, well, yeah, not going to work. It actually literally, like, it made pull requests that replaced all of our tabs, 2 spaces with 4 spaces, like every time I made a pull request, which was kind of hilarious, but also not at all
Helpful.
yeah, helpful. The JavaScript-based testing is a separate thing. Yeah, and we've got a Drupal roadmap that we can go from pulling stuff from Drupal 8 probably. And then automatic updates, yeah, nothing new there. It is a meta, like you said. Anyway, that's all I got for the background for the infrastructure things.
Okay.
The next.
All right. Well, why don't you roll into Backdrop CMS project updates too?
Yeah, that's totally right. Okay, so Backdrop the project, yay! What we're all here for. So the next release, Backdrop 1.4.4, that release is imminent. I went through the current pull requests over the weekend and the last couple of days and merged in everything that we had tagged for 1.4.4 or kicked it to 1.4.5 if there wasn't any current code that was actually workable. I also merged every crossport from Drupal 7.50 that we had available so far. There are some things that are actually features, though, like the UTF-8 extended UTF-8 character support, basically emoji support, has API changes involved, and so that will probably very loosely considered API change, but it is definitely a feature and wouldn't go into a bug fix. So that's we'll save for 1.5. Yeah, I did go through, or I am going through actually, and writing up an update on the emoji support, and I'll update that in that issue, which is 884, I think. Yeah. Yeah, all of these RTBC issues are all reviewed now and are all in. So that'll be coming out almost certainly like today, probably in the next couple of hours, because that's all ready. The important bug fixes, that this is the reason why we're making a new release, is that we fixed 2 of these. The path settings didn't save when creating a new content type. That's 2022. That one's merged and going to be in the next release probably today. Safari Flexbox is issue 1985, and Wes is here. Wes, I'm pretty sure that we've solved that, but I think you had a review that said that you found something else, and I think that I fixed what was in your review, but we never actually got confirmation that it did. And so that issue, I've already merged everything, but we've left the issue open because we would like confirmation that the problem is actually solved. So that one we think is fixed. We're going to make the release regardless. If you come back and say, no, wait, you broke something, then we won't make the release, but we're pretty certain that... It's
definitely a lot less broken than it was before, but yeah, there might be a little tiny break somewhere else, and I still think like issuing a release where it's 90% fixed is better than not issuing a release because it's not 100% fixed. So
yeah.
Just a question there. Graham just had an issue with iPad, and it wasn't only Safari, it was also Chrome on iPad. He didn't mention which version of iPad, though. Is that the same issue, or because I didn't get it from reading?
Yeah, the issue he was reporting is on 1.4.3, and so he isn't testing the fix that we've included that will go into 1.4.4. And so I'm not sure it's still relevant. I mean, it was a little bit weird that he reported it on Chrome because we didn't run into this problem on Chrome.
iOS Chrome uses WebKit as a renderer because Apple won't let them do otherwise.
Alrighty then. So then that's not weird, and hopefully we fixed it.
Yeah, even Firefox on iPhone. Is there a Firefox on iPhone? There is now. But it's also WebKit. Yeah, it's really silly.
They refused to do it for a while because of that, and now they have.
Yeah, now they have Firefox that's not Firefox, but it integrates with Firefox. Yeah.
All right. Well, hopefully we fixed all of the iDevice issues, with all of them being broken. But yeah, we'll see. There might be there's like a 5% chance we missed like one particular version, or the fix that we implemented won't work on one slightly older version of Safari. That's the one thing we haven't tested yet, but mostly fixed. All right, are you, is it my turn, Nate? I noticed you just muted yourself.
Oh, no, that's because I was typing.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So most of these bugs are addressed. The images being deleted by the cron cleanup is issue 1373. I still haven't looped back around on that one, but that's definitely a high priority item as well. Anybody else that's interested in that issue, and I think Mike actually, he's not in this meeting, but he asked in the issue, he's like, wait a minute, so what are we trying to do here? That the current pull request says that it's a custom block specific fix that when you upload an image into a custom block, it just immediately marks that image as permanent. There's other places where you have the same problem though, like if you're editing a header field in views or something like that, that you also can upload an image and still get deleted after 6 hours. Kind of the plan is that we'll proceed with the fix that Jeff has worked up that solves custom blocks just by making the images permanent, but we also need a fix that just disables the image uploading in places where it's not going to work properly, like in views, for example.
I have a question. I
wasn't a fan of that solution personally.
Yeah, what is the thing that makes them not save? Like, do they just not get an entry into the file manage table? Like, can't we just add one when anything is saved?
So that is the thing, is that they are added into the file manage table, but they're not marked as permanent. So the cron job goes through and looks for temporary files from the table and then deletes the files on disk.
So why can't we have whatever it is that has this text format on it mark them as permanent when that thing is saved?
Right, and that's exactly what we're doing in the case of custom blocks, and we could do that in every other place where we have text formats. But in the meantime, until we do that, we need the ability to disable an upload so the files just don't get deleted. So it's better to prevent somebody from thinking they can upload something and then having it deleted than just preventing them from doing something that's not going to work in the first place.
Can't we just make it work?
We can make it work, but there's a lot of places where we have text formats, like, I don't know, like crazy stuff like emails that you send out, you know? And it's like, well, you can't even put an image in there because that's not going to work. Anyway, there's a lot of places where we use text formats that aren't entities, and right now it only works on entities because
blocks aren't entities.
But blocks aren't entities, which is why we need a special use case for them, and views aren't entities, which is why we need a special use case for them. Like, we don't know all the places where text format fields are used. We need to make it so that every place we had a text format field, during the save routine of whatever that object is, it would also mark those files as permanent.
Okay, so next steps are, number 1, make people grumpy by taking away their feature. Number 2, go through and make a list of all of the places where people want the feature. And then number 3, go and turn the feature back on and add something fancy that updates the file manage table to make it permanent.
Yep, pretty much.
Okay.
But actually what we're doing is we're actually doing step 3 first in the case of custom blocks, where we're fixing the problem in the most common use case. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I guess that's all right. I was just thinking, like, rather than taking the button away, can we just skip step 2 and just fix...
Well, we'll leave the button. We'll just make it so that you can't do the upload. So you can paste in a URL and you can insert an image and you can manipulate it, but the ability to upload goes away.
Yeah, I mean, sense. I think it would be good to figure out. Yeah, I don't know what's all involved in that, but like, I think, was it Mike that was asking about how this tied into the adding file entity module, right? Where if every file was an entity, we wouldn't need to have any of this stuff happening to things like blocks, because it could happen to the file itself when you uploaded it.
Yeah, well, the idea there is that you would have to go and upload the file in the file entity section, and then you would go over to the editor, and then you paste in the URL or browse for it.
That's not how it works in Drupal. So I don't know why it would need to work that way in Backdrop. Like file entities are created when you use any file field anywhere.
Right.
So it would just do like an AJAX reload of the form where it gives you all like the entity form once the file is uploaded.
Okay. Okay. Sure. If we had a media browser, then that would work, but we don't have one of those yet.
It's not related to the media browser, right? Just like upload a file the same way you do now in like a block. And then as soon as the file is uploaded, it would be like, here's your file entity form. If you want to add a caption or photo credit, whatever, you can, and you hit save. And then now that entity is saved, regardless of whether the block is ever saved or not. But
right.
You never leave the context of creating the block to add the thing. And if we have something like that, then you wouldn't need to alter all of the things that aren't entities in order to make sure that the images are saved. The images are added to the library during upload. And that might be a better path forward than like changing the way that we handle input formats, instead just change the way we handle the file upload. And then the file manage table would get updated that way.
Yeah. Okay. Not a bad idea. But that's like a drastic feature, rather than fixing them getting deleted.
We're still not fixing them getting deleted. We're just removing the ability to add them.
Right. Well, whatever. Anyway, yeah, it's not a bad idea. It's but that would be like a major feature endeavor rather than
it's too bad. We should have prioritized that for 1.5 because it's very editorial experience related.
Right.
But there's no way we can get a feature that big at this point. But I do think maybe I'll revisit that issue and see what file entity looks like. I don't think we like file entity from 777 the way it is now. It would probably need to be reworked a lot for Backdrop, but maybe that could go into 1.6 or 1.7 or something down the road. All right, sorry, a little off target there, but there we go. Backdrop 1.5.
Sure. Okay. So thank you for moving UTF-8 character support. That actually conveniently is editorial related. Okay. The next feature, or main feature that we've got for 1.5 in terms of the scope of it probably is the reference module. We would like to have a generic entity type reference module, entity reference module that can reference nodes, users, terms, everything. There's been a lot of feedback actually on this issue. It's issue 1301, and I think I might have just opened a can of worms or something in that issue because I haven't actually read it all back. But there's been a lot of great feedback in there. It looks like Gregory. Actually, Jen, you're up to date too. Gregory, do you want to give an update on the progress of that? It looks like you've been having a lot of the back and forth there.
So I was looking at something else. This is about 150, and
this is the reference module issue. It's issue 1301.
No, that's not me. That's Mike. I wasn't doing anything.
Oh yeah, I know. Well, you were providing a lot of feedback. Though.
Well, I didn't have the chance to even test it. I was in very limited availability the past 3.5 weeks. So my intention is to test the basis and that as well as soon as I get time. But I didn't have any time so far.
Okay.
So where I think it's at is that Mike was having some significant problems with making an entity reference multiple different types of entities, like can you reference a node and a user and a term from the same field. And though we all see that as being like a potential use case, like, oh, it would be great to be like, here's all of the reference stuff, none of the 777 modules currently reference both a node and a user or a term at the same time. You have to choose, like, is it a node reference or is it a user reference or is it a term reference? And so when Mike originally started working on it, he's like, I want to make it generic and universal and work for everything. And then when he started writing the code, he was like, actually, that's going to be really hard. And so my thought was like, look, that's not a feature we have today. If it was necessary in the Drupal world, it would exist. It's been 5 years since Drupal 7 came out, plus. Surely, if that were a deal breaker, it would have happened by now. And that should not prevent us from getting a reference module into Backdrop Core. Like, what we want to do is get something in that is equivalent to what we have in 777, not necessarily something that's better. So if trying to make it better is going to prevent it from getting in, we should drop that feature. And so I think, like, down the road, if we can find a way to change it to make it work for everything, that's good. That could exist in Contrib, but I think putting it in Core, like just making it what we have today and making it stable is more important than getting those new bits of functionality in.
Yep. Sounds like Herb said the same thing in the issue. Totally. Yep. Agreed. Like, let's meet the use cases, or meet the functionality at least that the current modules have. Yeah, we can expand it later.
Yep.
It would be way worse not to get this into 1.5.
Yep. Agree.
Okay. Wonder how Mike will feel about that. He hasn't actually posted back since I posted that comment and since the long discussion ensued afterwards. So I wonder, he's probably busy as well, but it's unknown how he feels about that at this point.
I know, though, that he mentioned that he was actually building it because one of his current projects required it, or he was going to use it, so he's working on it, definitely.
Interesting. I wonder if we can reach a compromise there where maybe the core version doesn't do that because it has a lot of problems that he's encountering right now. But maybe we could build out the configuration storage and the way it works so that if you wanted to hack it in, then you could. I don't know. We need to look at the code and see what we can do there. Okay, next item is the new front-end theme in Core, issue 1361, the basis theme. Wes, do you have any updates on that?
Not really. I think I've done a few things since our last meeting, but nothing huge. So, yep, gonna have to make time here soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I've gone through the queue. At least last Thursday, I went through the queue on it. But yeah, if anyone finds anything, please put stuff in there. One of the things I want to try and get for launch, it looks like the color customization isn't going to be color customization through the UI isn't something I'll be able to get in, but I want to make it a theme that can work on the back end and the front end, and it's not too far from that. So want to make it good for that, and then whatever bugs people find, and then polish up any feature that I've started and haven't finished.
Okay, great. Yeah, and as we've mentioned in every meeting, the color module support will probably get punted. We can include, the theme as is without color module support, but later add it. And then I know that you went down a rabbit hole trying to revamp the way theme settings and color settings, all of that works, which is great because theme settings are super ghetto, and color module is also right there with it.
Okay. I was going to go down that rabbit hole. I didn't know that it was a rabbit hole, but that was how I planned on doing it. I didn't plan on doing color module support since I tried and it looked terrible.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about that later.
Yep. Okay. All right. Yeah, so those things are things for later. The new homepage layout is issue 1042. Jen, you're marked here for giving the update.
Yeah, I have a branch I need to make pull requests from, but that's all.
Oh, good. Like the basics of that is so simple, and it seems silly that we haven't just
Yeah, I did it, but it seemed so simple. I was like, surely this isn't all that's involved, and so then I started trying to work on like putting in the home rotator. So I'll just take that out, make a pull request, it'll be fine.
Yeah, just a layout that just has a front page. It's a single column.
Check.
Yeah.
Also, there's a related thing too, where we also have this like /node thing, right? Where I was thinking about, like, we could get rid of the /node page callback and put in the default content, like, front page view that we also have instead. And then we would remove that silly setting on, like, the system form where it's like, what path do you want your homepage to be? Because we'd have a homepage layout.
Right.
So there are a lot of, like, slippery slope stuff where it's like, first we'll put in the layout, and then we'll clean up this /node setting, and then I don't know. It just seems like
Yeah, that does get messy real quick, doesn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
So the first pull request will be the simplest possible thing, and then we can merge that, and then we can fight about what to do about all of the little bits that come after.
Yeah. Is the simplest possible thing including a view or not?
No, it's just using default content.
So does that mean it's path to /node?
Yes.
E.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe let's chat about that in Gitter. I can start there today.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right on. I mean, that is the simplest possible thing. It's just keeping /node around forever sounds
Horrible.
Yeah, it sounds horrible. Yeah. But on the other hand, like the replacing the front page with the view /node with the view may have like serious performance repercussions that when it comes to like, you know, just straight up benchmarking the homepage, if suddenly Backdrop gets, you know, 20-30% slower than 777, it'll look really bad, even though, you know, even though there's a good reason for it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Well,
interesting.
We could do also. Yeah. Okay. Let me think about it. I'll think about it and post it in the issue.
Can I say something silly?
Yes.
To your defense, and it's like I know that Nate has a lot on his plate, and with the imminent release as well of 144. But may I just, to your defense, say we are still waiting on the welcome messages for the new core committers.
Yeah.
I know. Just you said to Jen, yes, let's get everything, just a simple version. Yes, okay, yeah. Just wanted to say.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. So that's it, the update on the homepage layout, which is issue 1042. The last item that we've got here for the 1.5 release is improving the rich text editor, which is issue 1087, which is a meta issue of all rich text editor related items. I've actually been getting personally back into a whole bunch of CK editor work. I wrote a widget plugin actually this week for a client, which has been kind of nice that that I'm getting my head back in that space. But still, yeah, like Gregory just mentioned, there's a lot going on and a lot of things that have priority. And so we really, I would appreciate it if we could get someone that would take a lead on doing CK editor integrations and starting to take a look at all of those meta issues or meta issue items. There's actually a lot of them that aren't CK editor directly related that could also be done. But there's a bucket of really great improvements that we could potentially do in that issue, which is 1087. But right now, I don't think many or possibly even any of them have any work underway on them, but a lot of ideas. I know, Jen, you opened up another issue yesterday about spell checker.
Yeah.
And Drupal 8 actually restored the spell checker in 8.1. And so we could look at what they did, whether that was a CK editor plugin or CK editor by default disables the spell check, the OS level spell check, and maybe it's just a matter of not suppressing the OS level spell check, and that would do the job. I don't know. We can take a look at it. Did you add that to the meta, the spell check item?
I didn't add them. I should put them in here.
Okay. All right. There's some other things that are slated for the 1.5 release. You can find them by looking at the 1.5 milestone in the Backdrop issue queue. Let's see. Continuous improvements on user experience and developer experience. We've actually gone through, at 1.44, we'll include a number of terminology consistency improvements, which is nice, around URL aliases and some other items, saving blocks and things like that. So yay, you know, those are still happening. You can find user experience and developer experience improvements by looking for the square brackets UX and DX in the main issue queue. I didn't go through and update the community growth section. And I don't think
I did that. Unless I say something
that.
different, I do. I've done it already. So.
Oh, okay, awesome. Go ahead, Gregory.
Yeah. So yeah, actually, I always forget to put the actual numbers on the agenda because I always prepare the community thing, the other document. I'll paste them in. Yeah, just let me go through them now. So we have 306 total projects on Backdrop CMS. Oh, sorry, in the contrib section. That's +2 since last week. We have 214 projects with official releases on backdropcms.org. That's only one more than last week. And we have 334 releases. That's +3 since last week. We have no change to contrib authors or applications. It's 54 and 14, respectively. And then 24 organization profiles, no change there either. And we have 333 total user accounts on Backdrop CMS. We seem to have a steady inflow of people. That's +4 since last week. We have an average of, I don't know, anything from 5 to 10 each week, which is good news. That's it.
Great, thanks, Gregory. Awesome. All right, next section is news and announcements. Jen, why don't you take this and run with it to the end of the meeting?
Sure. So last week, I published a blog post about DrupalCorn. And what I'm trying to do with these posts about the events that we're attending is not just write a post that we went to the event, but try and pull like the most exciting thing that happened at the event out and make the blog post kind of more about that. So the one where we talked about Twin Cities, the big exciting thing that came out from that was the talk about security and how making a more secure system will help decrease the cost of long-term website ownership, which is part of our philosophy. This last week, or 2 weeks ago at DrupalCorn, the biggest, most exciting thing to me was the fact that we are now working on a backdrop button inside OpenShift. So OpenShift, I'm sure most of you haven't heard of OpenShift. I hadn't really heard of it before the camp either. But it is a platform it's a hosting platform that's like Pantheon or Platform SH, only it's all open source and you can install it and run it on your own servers. And there's also like an enterprise version, so there are a bunch of giant institutions that use open source like as a, for all of their websites. And John Van Dyke was at the conference and he's been working a lot on getting a Drupal installation profile, so to speak, ready for Platform SH so that they can put Drupal sites on Platform SH, which is what they're using for hosting. And he was so excited about Backdrop, he's like, I want there to be a Backdrop installation profile set up. And it basically takes the Docker image that we had already created for Calabox and adds a little bit more configuration around hosting infrastructure so that when you go to Platform SH and you log in as a developer, it'll give you this grid of all of these different systems that you can install. There's a button for WordPress, and now there's going to be a button for Backdrop as well. So you can, it's a really great, they have a different way that you can fire it up. Like one of them is kind of a test mode where it gets blown away every 24 hours. So you can click a button and give it a try. And so I thought that would be really important for anyone who's already using this platform or anyone who starts to use this platform in the near future, which looks like it's going to be a lot of people, to have a really easy way to try Backdrop on their own infrastructure. So John Van Dyke is working on setting that up. They're interested in using Backdrop internally. I think he's at Iowa State University. And so he's going to try and get it set up on OpenShift so that he can get it not only for his own personal use, but for anyone who wants to try Backdrop to just be there and they can use it as well. So that was the most exciting part of attending that camp for me. The blog post was kind of about OpenShift and his beginning adventures with Backdrop on the OpenShift platform. So if any of you are interested in OpenShift, you can sign up as a developer. They do have kind of a limited beta going on right now. I had to wait a week and a half before they approved my account, but I am in there letting people in. So if you guys want to give it a try, you can definitely go ahead and sign up there. So it works a lot like Platform SH or Pantheon or a lot of the other hosting providers that are out there today, where they manage your infrastructure, but you have like, I want to install this application, and then they'll set it up in a little Docker-based container section for you where everything is all compartmentalized. And so it just uses that with our current Docker image and throws one up. So it's pretty cool. If anyone's interested in playing with it, give it a shot. Let's see, other news and announcements. We are going to send a newsletter as soon as Backdrop 1.4.4 comes out. So Nate, if you want 1.4.4 to come out this week, I'll send a draft. I've got something in MailChimp already. I'll put it to make sure it's still up to date. But I will send a test email. If anyone wants to help review that for me, let me know. I can stick your email in the test field, and you can get an early copy. Me? Okay, I'll send it to you, Jeff. And then, yeah, other stuff coming soon. I don't know. We've got, today is Sprint Day. Obviously, we'll be working together in GitHub and on Gitter after this meeting. Anyone who's watching, feel free to join as well. And then upcoming events, we've got Drupal Camp Asheville. Is that this weekend? Is that last weekend? I should have the events list up, but I don't. Yeah, it must have been last weekend. But then we have Drupal Camp LA, which is next weekend. They have been doing a really great job of marketing Backdrop alongside Drupal, which I think is great. Every newsletter that they've sent out has like featured sessions, and Backdrop has been in the list, which is super exciting. So if anyone else is going to be at Drupal Camp LA, feel free to come and join in and talk with us in our session, which will be great. And then after that, the next thing I have on the schedule is Bad Camp. Bad Camp this year, we're going to be doing a Backdrop Summit on Thursday. We might also be doing a Backdrop training on Friday, so I'm working up different content for those two events in case we need to do both of them. Last year we did kind of a training in the morning. This year we'll split that out into two separate things. If anyone is planning on being at Bad Camp, I would love to get more speakers at the summit. Wes, I think you said you can't come this year, but I don't know, Jeff, if you're interested in coming, we can get anyone else out. I think Jim Birch is going to be there. I'd love to get him speaking. Luke, you're going to be there. You can come participate in the summit. But yeah. So that'll be really good. We've got folks from Calabox coming to do a demo. I'm going to try and get folks from Pantheon to come and do a demo. We're going to have one of my clients has agreed to come and do a case study where he can just kind of talk about his website and why he loves Backdrop, which I think will be really good. We've got somebody from Kalamuna coming to do a case study on one of their sites that's on Backdrop. So anyone who has happy Backdrop site owners, I think it would be great to have them come and speak about cool things, cool problems they've solved with it. Just to kind of show the world, like, it's not just us anymore. There's a whole group of people that are supporting this, a whole group of people who are, owning sites and benefiting from the wonder that is Backdrop. So that would be great. Let's see, other things coming up. Books. All the books are out. Beginning Backdrop and Migrating from Drupal to Backdrop are both available on Apress or Amazon. There are links to both of those, I think, in the support section of our website, and it's in the sidebar. So get your Backdrop books. I haven't bought my Beginning Backdrop book yet. I keep forgetting, but I'll do that today, maybe. Other stuff going on. Try and do it by next week, then we'll have one to show off. But yeah, that's it for the agenda. Anyone else have anything they want to share, talk about, or ask? Or complain about?
You guys already talked about it, but on backdropcms.org, issue 95, the module download counts.
Yeah.
It would be super easy to write out those stats to a file, like once a month or something, so you could have like percentage growth or something like that, if that's of value.
Huh.
It wouldn't have to be in the database. It could just be in a file and just sitting there, and you could either use it or not use it.
I see.
Yeah, I was going to add something there. So it's not available as a feed but it could be. We already have monthly statistics. Actually, I think it's weekly statistics for all projects, but they're not linked anywhere. So let me pull it up. Project.
That's on my to-do list.
Yeah. You go to any project you want and go to like backdrop.cms.org/project/usage/webform or backdrop or whatever. And I'll paste in a URL, for example, like this. So we actually have that data, and right now it's output in an HTML table, but we could output that as JSON as well, or something, and that would give us, you could do all kinds of stuff with that.
But he's talking about download counts too.
Oh.
So it would be really cool if we could get the same metrics for usage and downloads, so you can see like if there's a huge spike in downloads but there's not a spike in usage, there might be something wrong with your project description. I think it would be useful to get both of those in equivalent intervals of time.
Yeah. Okay. That's a little trickier.
So I think Jeff was saying that it's easy to collect the data and wanted to know if we wanted to do that. I would say yes. If it becomes hard, don't worry about it. But if it's easy, yeah, it would be great to have it.
Yeah, it's already collected. It's just that, every night that it runs, it's going to overwrite the database table with a new number, but I can write it out to a file to persist.
Yeah.
At the same time that you update the database table.
Okay, yeah, that would be great. All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
Yeah, I have a couple of issues, just real
Okay.
quick. So I don't know what triggered. I usually, if something happens, I always check how things are done back in Drupal 7 and 8. And last couple of days, I just happened to look at the UI for Path Auto. I've created an issue for it, and how they've changed things. And I know we can take that discussion there, but there's an issue behind that issue. So my question was there, we have some contributed modules that have moved into core, and I know we follow Drupal 7 core with improvements, features, and everything, but what do we do about, like, say, views or Path Auto or token or CK tools? As they get updates in Drupal land, do we follow that? And I know we follow security issues, I guess, because we have a notification, but what happens with that? Like features added, UI changed.
So I can speak to my own experience in that, and that's that as a project maintainer, it's up to me to keep an eye on what's going on in the Drupal issue queue. So if I'm maintaining the Google Analytics module for Backdrop and there's a security release for the Google Analytics module of Drupal, I've got to check the issue queue and make sure that that issue gets fixed in Backdrop as well. And if there are new features that go in, it's up to me to decide, do I try and keep the two projects equivalent over time, or am I going to say, no, the Backdrop project is different from the Drupal project and actually fork them? In most cases, I would imagine most of the people who are working on the Backdrop projects right now are busy enough that they're not watching all of the Drupal module issue queues for all of the projects that they're on. At least that's true for myself. But when there's a security update, that's a really good time to go back and look at that project and say, okay, well, since I'm here anyway and I'm looking at what's happened to this project since I ported it, maybe it's a good time to merge in all these other features or bug fixes or whatever else it is. There's a couple projects in particular where the Backdrop versions are going to be significantly different from the Drupal versions, and that's usually the bigger projects, ones that should be envisioned differently, like how that problem should be solved in Drupal. A great example of that is like Drupal Commerce, right, where there isn't going to be a Drupal Commerce module for Backdrop. There's going to be a Backshop, and it's going to be different. A smaller example of that is something like Flux Slider, which is one of the modules that I maintain, where that's significantly different. Number one, because the Flux Slider library is bundled in the Backdrop version and it's not in Drupal. But number two, I'm also working on a different version of that module. So we're on Flux Slider 2 right now. I'm working on a Flux Slider 3. And so Flux Slider 2 I can keep in sync with Drupal, but Flux Slider 3 is going to be like a Backdrop version of it, which will be different. And that's a good way for me as a maintainer to keep those two things separate. It's just to have a different branch where it's like the Backdrop branch is different from the Drupal branch. So I can see, Gregory, that you got a phone call. But I think that's how I feel about it. Nate, I don't know if you want to weigh
Yeah,
in on
sorry,
that
sorry
for
about
anyone
that. That
who's
was
watching.
one. I was mostly interested not about brand. Sorry, uh, I was interested about modules that were in Contrib in Drupal, and we have them now in Core, in Backdrop. So that was
Okay.
my main concern, because in Drupal I know that there's core modules, and they have either a person or a team of people that actually sort of like work on them. And I was saying that maybe we should keep in sync. I was mentioning views, which we have in core, path auto, token, these modules.
Yeah.
Have not yet made it to core. Especially views has been in core in Drupal 8, but the rest of it have not. So what do we do there?
So we could. So right now we're not doing much. It's kind of a la carte, you know. If somebody says this feature was added, actually I think we have had that happen. That someone has posted an issue saying the new version of Views or Path Auto has X, and then they open an issue against Backdrop, and then we port it over a la carte. We could get a little bit more efficient about that. We could have official metas like we do for each minor release of Drupal core, and do the same thing for each version of Token or Path Auto or whatever. And I think that would be a great thing for us to do. It's a matter of taking the effort to actually go through and build out that process. Not build out that process, but actually execute. Like, I think our current process for minor releases of Drupal core is great. It was actually really fascinating seeing some things like Gore doing a backport from Drupal 8 for like one of the testing scripts, and then he filed a pull request prior to the issue happening that was like backported from 7.50. Like, we kind of were ahead of the curve on that one. But then we didn't actually merge it until the meta issue was like put a checkbox on it. It's like, oh, this is part of the crossports now. And so yeah, I think it would be great if we followed that process for new minor releases of contrib modules as well. Yeah, but that's all that I have to say about it. That it would be great, you know.
Yeah. I know we need more hands on deck, but eventually it would be good, like, if we even approach those contrib maintainers from Drupal and say, like, the same way we do with contrib, like, are you interested to maintain it in Drupal or in Backdrop, sorry, as well? Yes, I know we need more people to sort of like have dedicated people saying that we maintain views in core. Like, I'm the maintainer of views in core. I know we need time for that. But yeah, I was just wondering. And then the last issue, I hope this is real quick. Evangelos, as I said, is coming from the WordPress community for Greece. So he came to me back in January with a few queries. He said that, and I did mention that in one of the meetings that we had in February, I think. That's when I saw his message. So there's this thing that happens with multi-language communities, like from other countries. They start, that used to happen in Drupal. They start their own community, and they have a forum which is specifically like Greek people use a Greek forum. How do we go about doing that? Like, do we incorporate or have the ability for communities to be built on the main site, backdropcns.org, or we allow people like Evangelos to sort of like start their own website, and how do we, what's the official sort of like policy on that?
So I don't think we have an official policy on that yet. I know in Drupal they tried to keep everybody on the same website with the groups, organic groups module. That's how that kind of came about. So there's groups.drupal.org, which is a place where any community can create itself, and that can be a community based on geographic location or language or anything anyone feels creates a group. And I think that was a really good idea in the early years of Drupal, because it gave people kind of a safe place to talk to a smaller subset of everyone that's in Drupal. I don't have any plans to set up a groups.backdrop.org, but I think if somebody wanted to, that would be great. In the meantime, I would say wherever these people are comfortable organizing themselves is fine. Like, if somebody already has a tool for that, like, oh, most of the people in our PHP developer community hang out in, I don't know, Reddit or something, like creating a place where they already are is also totally fine. Building a new website, if you want to do that, is totally fine. I would love to not have the burden on a new community of building a website first, but I think we have enough on our plates right now that we shouldn't commit to building a groups.backdrop.org, but if somebody wanted to, I would fully support that. We could put it on our hosting infrastructure and try and help whoever's doing that as much as we can in whatever ways we can. It's just not on our roadmap.
Yeah. Depending on the build of our forum, that's why I mentioned this, because we are going eventually, like soon-ish, build the forum. Do we have special sections where we allow people to communicate in other languages, for example, other than English? Like, do we have a section where they're allowed to sort of like communicate in Greek? Because language is a barrier sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I would say hopefully the way we set up the forum is that anyone can create whatever forum, and if somebody wants to create a forum for Greek language, that would be totally acceptable, and whatever other language they want. I think on Drupal.org, all of communications are supposed to be in English, just because everybody else there speaks English. But that might also just, date back to a time when we couldn't figure out what other people were saying, and now we have things like Google Translate where even if you post a comment in Greek, I can get some of the words out of it, at least, and we can kind of mangle through. So I don't think we need to have any kind of firm policies like all posts on the website should be in one language. I think we're kind of past that. So. Anyone else have any thoughts on that? Let the people do what they want. Okay. Does anyone else have anything else to add or other questions asked or anything we should talk about? Need Star Trek's Universal Translator. We're close. We're close. Nope? Okay. Well, let's break off and go to the GitHub issue queue and chat in Gitter and anywhere else. And thank you, again, everyone for joining. And, we'll see you next week.
All right. Bye, guys.